welcome to Down in the Bunker. My name is James Merritt, and today I'm joined by the fantastic Tim Harrison. Tim, welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much for having me. We were talking about this beforehand. This is my first ever podcast. I feel joyed and extremely honoured that it was you that invited me to do my first ever podcast. So thank you very much.
I appreciate your time, and I'm pleased to me that's popping your cherry on this podcast journey, because I'm sure you'll be asked for many more going forwards. So could you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So I suppose most important things first, family, really. I'm a father of 3 kids. I have a bit of a range in the house. I have a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, and now a 1-year-old as of the weekend just gone. So back in the saddle for very early stage parenting, which I forgot how much I loved. It's a real delight. It's a big challenge. It's very different, obviously, from 16 and 15-year-olds, but it's lovely. What else? My wife and I became very much COVID cliches when we left London, right towards the end of COVID lockdown period. We got a dog and we left London for the countryside, which is where we've been since. I'm a lawyer by trade. I qualified from a regional practice many moons ago. And so left the countryside, if you like, left the regional areas upon qualification, came down to London and worked at a few big firms before I then moved into eDiscovery. I founded Arkus Consulting in 2018, so been running Arkus since then. I am also the part of my time that I fill is I'm the chair of trustees of a national charity called Insight Justice. Insight Justice is a really important charity who represents inmates and those who have been subject to a miscarriage of justice, so spending their time in jail and sometimes having been released after their sentence. And what we do with a series of an incredible group of absolutely enormously storied and capable and diligent and wonderful, typically forensics and science experts, along with a whole group of legal experts from current and retired judges and barristers and other lawyers, represent those people who have been subject to a miscarriage of justice. And we've had some really wonderful successes for changing people's lives and getting them out of jail and indeed on the road to a normal life after such a horrific event.
Fantastic. Well done for dedicating your time to that.
Well, thank you. It really is. I feel that I always do very little compared to the absolutely wonderful, dedicated work that the entire group does. We've got an amazing group, like I said, of what we refer to as the advisory panel, and lots of other staff members who are dedicating an enormous amount of their free time, all pro bono, to doing this really important work.
Brilliant. So how long have you actually worked in eDiscovery for then?
Well, I was thinking about this, James, beforehand, and it kind of depends on how you define it. Depends on how you define working in eDiscovery. So like I said, I qualified as a lawyer. I qualified in 2009. I chose a really wonderful time to qualify because there was this little thing called the global financial crisis, which was hitting or had hit around that time.
And so,
yeah.
And yeah, so I graduated in 2009 as well.
Yes, of course. So I then moved to London to work on what I then found were eDiscovery projects. I had never heard that term beforehand. I didn't know what on earth it was. For me, right, as a very, very junior lawyer at that stage, I was reviewing documents. So I was within a first level review document pool right from the start. So that's the first exposure that I got into eDiscovery. So that was effectively working as a paralegal in a US law firm in London. Fast forward to 2013, I had come to a realization along the way that working as a lawyer was not what I wanted from my career. I remember having this realization, which I physically felt this realization when it hit me, and I actually said the words out loud. I remember where I was standing. It was a very sad but impactful and important realization. I said that I had never enjoyed a day of my life as a direct result of my job. And that was a really powerful statement. And so I sought to do something about it. I sought to change things. And I realized, I had been realizing at that stage, that I'd really started to enjoy the data sides of the projects that I was working on. So it wasn't the review that really interested me. And if I was being really honest with myself, I never really enjoyed working as a lawyer at any point, and I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly why, but I could put my finger on what I enjoyed about working on the data side of things. And I started to explore that there was, these documents didn't just magically appear, they came from somewhere. And I wanted to know where, why, how, why were they in front of me? Why was I reviewing these? And so I pulled back this curtain on this industry of eDiscovery. And so I then just jumped in with both feet. I loved it. Long story short, I joined FTI Consulting as an eDiscovery project manager
2 weeks after
in
me,
2013. Yeah, that was not when we met. That was where we first worked together.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was
2013.
Yeah, because it was about a year earlier, I think, wasn't it, when we met while I was at Strasbourg.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we met again at one of Toby's meningitis balls.
Yes, we did. Toby Berryman, the inimitable Toby Berryman of Rolf Berryman. Very good mutual friend.
Indeed. And then, yeah, we've got 10 months working together at FTI, which I thought was an excellent case to work on. I know you spent quite a bit of time there before joining me again at CityDocs in 2016.
Yeah, I think about then. Yeah, so I was at FTI for I think about 3 years, and then I joined you at CityDocs. So CityDocs I think it was probably the last company in London that formed an eDiscovery and forensic technology practice out of a printing and scanning firm. That was very much it was like a de rigueur practice. Companies like Milnet had done that, and several others. It was quite a very sensible business thing to do, wanting to keep hold of the data and the client relationships that they had on scanning very important documentation for the purposes of disputes and investigations and that kind of thing. So CityDocs felt that it was time for them to do that. They did. You had been there for a while before me. I joined in it was a hybrid role that I had, sort of hybrid sales and delivery roles. So we worked together on lots of projects during that time. CityDocs was then purchased by Apogee, which was then bought by HP.
Yes, I think it was late 2016, wasn't it? Or maybe 2017 when Apogee was purchased. Sorry, when CityDocs was purchased by Apogee. And then 2018, right. I want to say, Apogee sold to HP.
I think that's about right. Yeah, I think that it was probably only a few months, 2 or 3 months following the, unrelated I might add, but following the purchase of then Apogee by HP that I then resigned and founded Arkus in the summer of 2018.
The journey of Arkus I've watched from afar, but with delight to see how well you've been succeeding and growing over the years. What is it that's exciting about what you're doing with Arkus?
Gosh, I'm hesitating because I don't quite know where to begin. Lots is the answer. So over the course of 7 years, it's really interesting. I find that every year of Arkus, I feel that we're only just getting started, which is a really wonderful realization and a frustrating one at the same time. Everybody has really wonderful plans, but what's the phrase? God laughs at plans, or what did Mike Tyson say? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I feel like you have wonderful sales and marketing strategies and plans, and the industry doesn't care about those. It's all about execution. How do you execute against those strategies and those plans? And we're doing an increasingly good job over the course of those 7 years. I've been learning to be a better business owner, a better business manager, a better leader. Those lessons and those learnings are fascinating, and I love them. And then in terms of the company growth, we've grown from, well, I started Arkus with just me, so sort of continuing that hybrid role, if you like, that I was in when we worked together, in the role that I was in immediately before Arkus. So my role at Arkus started exactly the same, so this hybrid sales and delivery role. And then I naturally started to seek to fill in the gaps in my knowledge and capability with specific expertise, which then started the hiring. And then the larger team required more work. And then obviously that continues this virtuous cycle. So, we've grown as a team. We've grown in terms of the number of clients that we're servicing on a regular basis. I'm very happy to say that a very high percentage of the clients that we work with will then work with us on future projects. So we've got a very good client retention rate. Sorry, to answer your question, what's exciting me about Arkus at the moment? It's both, oh gosh, this sounds so cliched and cheesy, but it's the now and the future. So we're just coming to the end of calendar year Q1. We've had a wonderful first quarter. We've hit our sales targets. We've hit our client satisfaction targets, client retention targets. So clients are happy. We spend a great deal of time ensuring that a phrase that I use a lot is delighting our clients. How do we ensure that clients are absolutely delighted with the service quality, the project management quality, the consultancy that we're providing them? And so all of that doesn't really happen by accident. So we spend a great deal of time ensuring that our team have the right training, have the right expectations and understandings of expectations of themselves and of each other. And so I'm really excited to see our teams grow, but I don't just mean in numbers of personnel, right? I mean in terms of those individuals within the team, how they grow and develop. I'm super excited about that. That's probably one thing that has been the most interesting to me over the past 7 years, that perhaps I wasn't expecting very clearly, was that one of the main things that drives me the most is by seeing other people develop. And so that's the thing that I'm really looking forward to the most, seeing everybody within the team develop in their expertise, their gravitas, their comfort levels with different types of projects. I'm also fascinated, and I don't know if we want to go into this now or later, but I geekily cannot wait for the increased adoption of things like Gen AI and large language models in our industry. And I'll leave that there for where you want to go.
It is a truly exciting time. I mean, that's sort of like one of the next questions for you, Tim, was how do you see the marketplace changing over the next few years? And I think clearly you've hit it on the head. I think the adoption of Gen AI is in everything we do now, with anything within your life, your messaging systems on your phone, your email systems. I think it's a natural adoption. And I think I'm certain seeing it as the uptake of Gen AI, or wanting to use it, is a lot faster than the uptake of, say, the structured analytics or conceptual analytics that were the predecessors. Yeah. I'm not sure if you're finding the same.
James, I couldn't agree more. Like I found what's really interesting. Like you mentioned the seeing AI just being threaded through everybody's personal lives. Like I don't know if you've noticed this on WhatsApp, that little button at the bottom right. I was like, what's that? And do you want to use Llama, Meta AI to search or to ask it things? But that was a sort of most recent one that I wasn't expecting. But if you not fast forward, if you go back, rewind the clock, 18 months-ish ago, when OpenAI first landed with ChatGPT, right? It was November, I think, 2023 from memory, where it really just dropped. And the adoption of that was huge. And I think the relevance of that is that everybody had heard of ChatGPT. Whether people initially were really using it on a regular basis in their personal or professional lives is a different question. But if you look at the adoption curve of ChatGPT versus even some of the fastest adopted other technologies, I don't know, or applications like WhatsApp, for example, or Facebook, it was significantly faster. It was like 1 million new users in 10 days. I'm making the figure up. I can't remember, but it was enormous. And the reason I think that's important is because it just it grabbed the attention of everyday people. What that then led to was everyday people, lawyers and other likes of people, GCs within corporations, lawyers within law firms are also everyday people. And so they were using that in their everyday lives as well. And then that then led to this question of, can I use a technology like this in my professional life? And of course, we saw some really dangerous outputs of that with that famed case in New York, I think it was, where the two lawyers cited precedent which didn't exist. And I think ironically, it was both. They were on opposing sides of the same case. I might have got that wrong, but I think that's right. But naturally, I'm sort of veering off topic, but if you add in this zero trust and steps of validation along the way and verification of output as against what the source data was, then I think you can really protect yourself. But if you compare, as you rightly say, if you compare like the adoption curve of things like Gen AI and LLM usage in a legal professional practice compared to the speed of adoption of predictive coding as it then was back in the day, or other types of analytics, I've never seen anything like it. Like, I've been selling and delivering eDiscovery projects for 15-ish years. Never before, never have I seen a law firm client or a GC say, right, I really want you to tell me about this predictive coding, this email threading, this visual analytics. I've heard about it. It's really exciting. So tell me more about it. Like, it was more really leading a horse to water about predictive coding being the main one, version 1. But now the story has flipped. I have, on a very regular basis, in sales meetings and in prospect meetings with clients, the client on the other side of the table is leading with this conversation. It's like, right, tell me what you're doing about Gen AI. What should I care about the use of Gen AI? How can it help me? We need to be more efficient. We need to be more competitive in the marketplace against our law firm competitors. How can we leverage you and your products to be able to do that? Which is a conversation that I welcome and I love, and I've never experienced that before. So it's really, really captured the attention, not just from the technologists and the deliverer side of things, but also from the buyer side, the client side, which is really important.
I think you touched on it there of sort of making sure that the output is monitored and sort of QC'd to the appropriate level so that there aren't those disastrous mistakes. I think that's the important role that a vendor such as Arkus, or certainly consultants like myself, have. That's our job, is to steward the ships to make sure that they are heading in the right direction with the true reflection of actually what the data holds, and not just, well, this is what the system's told us, so it must be correct.
Yeah, quite. I completely agree. Right from the outset, right, you really need to have this, like, an AI strategy. Like, and I mean this like at sort of a very specific level, at a strategic level, right? You need to have the most important, not most important, but the most senior person on the buyer's side be involved and engaged in that conversation. Like, why are we using this? How can we use this? What's the intended purpose? What are we trying to achieve? And then what are the options available to us? And how are we going to manage the downside risk, as you've rightly identified, to ensure that we can use it effectively without it burning us throughout the process or at the end. I strongly expect that the business market will come to terms with this very quickly. If you look at some of the tools that are out there in some of the major and smaller eDiscovery platforms, like technologists who are building those know the importance of validation, and it's sort of built into the workflow, and the lawyers themselves know. Lawyers are typically risk averse, which is predominantly a good thing. So I think the workflows of how to best use this type of technology will work themselves out. But interestingly, they'll work themselves out for a period of time before the technology changes and improves. You've seen these, I don't know, like people like Richard Susskind have been talking about the speed with which AI is improving with concepts like in 10 years' time, I think it might be millions of times more powerful than it is today, which is just really hard for the human mind to like, what does that mean? What is a million times better? I can't think of any examples in everyday life where a machine, a piece of software or a physical bit of kit is a million times better than it was even 100 years ago. It's fascinating. I can't wait.
It is an exciting time to be in the tech industry,
isn't it?
And and I think that's a great place. I think probably to move to our sort of last question, which is kind of taken away from what we've been discussing and more bring it back to yourself, which is outside of work. What do you do to let off some steam?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Do you have time with all your roles?
Yeah, I have dinner and go to bed, James. It's funny, isn't it? You have two young children as well. You know what it's like. And at the moment, I'm very much welcoming that. I love it. So there's not really much time for much else. I'm building a business and building a family, and I love both of those things. Gosh, I was about to say in equal measure. Scrap that, edit that part out. Not allowed to use that bit. But what I have done is as I say, I moved to the countryside. I moved to this just beautiful countryside village 3 years ago. And we live 200 meters away from the village pub, the village green. It's got a little nursery, a little school next to it. It's gorgeous. It's idyllic, it's bucolic. And on the green is a cricket pitch, and there's a cricket pavilion there as well. And I used to play a lot of cricket. It was one of my major sports. It's have been the thing that sort of defined me, I think, as a kid up until leaving. And cricket I've always loved, and I've always wanted to get back into it. So after 26 years, I calculated, of doing no cricket whatsoever, I've now joined the village cricket club. And so we started winter nets. Well, I started winter nets halfway through 3 weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to a season of as many Saturday matches as I can run past the boss at home. So it's a
Upper management will play a big role there, I'm sure.
She will indeed.
There's something about village cricket. I grew up in a village. I played village cricket certainly for the first 15 years of my adult life. Only when I moved to London did I stop. And it's not something I've picked back up since being a dad, because leaving 2 young children with upper management doesn't always go down well, because it's not a short game, but it is something. It's a sociable game, and I always found that you ingrain yourself into that community by playing the cricket. Because there's the people that help make the lunches, there's the actual playing. Then once you finish playing, then you're obliged to go to the pub afterwards, not just with your team, but with the opposing team, because it is a real sort of community spirit, and it's such a fantastic game. So, good luck with your season. Make sure you get padded helmet, and you watch for those fast balls.
Thank you. I will do. I'll let you know how I
really like to thank you for dropping into the bunker, and for anyone else who's listened, thank you very much. And until next time, goodbye.